An off-duty police officer makes a horrifying discovery.
Is there any serious bleeding?
Yes, she's in the face. She's shot in the face.
He's screaming, uncontrollable.
They go inside. They see blood on the inside of the door. There's blood on the knob. There's even blood on the wall.
It's an unthinkable tragedy, made all the worse by the young couple's undying love for each other.
From the very first time Dion laid eyes on her, he was pretty much in love with her.
It would always be, I love you, I love you, I love you.
But the mystery of what happened on this catastrophic day will be no small task to unravel, ultimately leaving many to wonder, was it a terrible accident, suicide, or murder?
It was a dangerous situation and nobody even knew about it. There was obsession, lies being told, and lovers on the side.
She was like, I'll get you your money later, and he refused to take that as an answer.
She was in so deep, she didn't know how to get out of it. She was dealing with something that she didn't know how to get away from.
Tuesday, March 16th, 2010. It's a sunny afternoon in East Nashville, Tennessee, a vibrant up-and-coming community in Music City, USA.
This becomes an attractive place for a lot of people.
But at 4:46 p.m., an emergency call reaches Area 911 dispatchers.
What's the address of the emergency?
On the line is 23-year-old Dion Cartmel, and he's no ordinary resident.
I'll get out the damn car. Please come quick.
Okay, sir, it's the health department this way.
House. Please send medics.
Okay, stay on the line with me, okay?
He's screaming. It seems like he is inconsolable.
Please,
Listen, I'm out here.
Moments later, dispatchers ascertain the cause of Officer Cartmel's dire emergency.
she's in the face. She's shot in the face. Please. Call me.
Okay,
Yes, she's not really
I need someone. They're calling late, sir.
With help now on the way, Dion does what he can to keep his 24-year-old wife, Shari, alive.
Yeah,
I'm not going to get
okay. I'm going to hold on until the help arrives.
Within minutes, first responders arrive at the Cartmel home.
They can see Shari lying back on the couch, unresponsive. As they get closer, they see that she's lying in a pool of blood.
She had a gunshot wound to the face.
She's not breathing. There is only a very faint heartbeat.
We gotta get her out of here. Let's go back out front.
When the ambulance get there, they transport her.
But did she truly attempt to take her own life? The answer to that question will not only haunt her husband, but her friends, family, and the entire East Nashville community.
What has happened to her is just almost unreal to me.
strives to do.
They had the fairy tale relationship.
But this fairy tale would not have a happy ending. As Shari is rushed to the hospital with a seemingly self-inflicted gunshot wound to the face, investigators begin surveying the scene at the Cartmel home. What they uncover will pull back the veil on Shari's picture-perfect life and reveal that this beautiful bombshell had something to hide.
I just started screaming, what?
I was shocked. I would never want to know that my sister's heart was broken that bad.
Years of marriage, it seemed nothing could stop Nashville residents Dion and Shari Cartmel.
Dion was a well-respected Nashville police officer and a former Marine. Shari was a popular employee at a local hospital. They're headed in the right direction, no question about it. Everything was going well for them.
Then, on the afternoon of March 16, 2010, everything changes in the blink of an eye.
Dion contacts 911. My wife has shot herself. He's screaming, uncontrollable.
During the 911 call, he was panicking.
When Nashville police and EMS arrive on the premises, they find Dion in the throes of despair as his gravely wounded wife is raced to the hospital.
He was crying, falling down on the ground.
He's going crazy. He's hitting himself and screaming. They try to get him to calm down enough for them to understand what's going on.
Other police officers who he had worked with were with him, were trying to console him.
He was just too distraught to do an interview.
Hey man, I'm Chaplain Evans.
There was a police chaplain on hand to comfort Dion, and Dion told him what happened.
Dion explains to the police chaplain that he and Shari planned a quiet evening at home that night.
We're sitting in the living room. We're cleaning our guns.
They both was off from work that day, so they had planned the evening to spend together. They said it was our day to be together. They had started cooking dinner and watching the movie Training Day.
Dion was cleaning his guns and playing with his guns, and Shari was looking at the guns.
Can you show me how to take apart your AR-15?
For real? That's a big gun.
Yeah.
All right.
Went to the bedroom closet when he heard a gunshot. Come back out of the closet and saw that she was on the sofa and shot herself.
Shortly after listening to Dion's account, the chaplain is approached by Detective Robinson.
I spoke with the chaplain and I asked him, what did he tell you?
He wasn't in the room. He said he heard the shot, so he's obviously really distraught right now.
Police are trying to figure out what really happened.
As the chaplain relays Officer Cartmel's story to Detective Robinson, the whole incident sounds like a tragic accident. Still, Detectives Postiglione and Robinson intend to play this one by the book.
The fact that he was a police officer really meant nothing to us. We just had to evaluate the crime scene, determine exactly what happened, and just go from there.
But as they begin processing the scene, the detectives receive the one call everyone's been dreading.
I had communicated with a detective that I had sent to the hospital, and he called me back and told me that Shari was pronounced deceased.
News of Shari's sudden death hits her family like a ton of bricks.
I was upstairs in my townhouse talking on the telephone. I was the church secretary at that time. And I look out my window. There's police knocking on the door. I go downstairs and I let him in.
Yes, sir.
And he said, sit down. I said, no, I'm not going to sit down. I said, what's wrong? He said, Shari's deceased. I was torn to pieces.
The phone rang. Well, it was my sister. She was screaming at the top of her lungs. And then she tells me, and I just say, what? I jump up out of bed and I just started screaming, what? What? Oh my God.
While Shari's family struggles to come to grips with her death, the detectives' preliminary search of the Cartmel home seems to support Dion's story.
They notice that there is a gun right there on the ottoman. There's blood on the gun.
We make our way to the kitchen and the oven's on. When you open the oven, there was some chicken breast in the oven that looked like someone had stuck in there and it hadn't finished cooking.
When police search the rest, though, they make a curious discovery.
In his third bedroom, he had made it into a makeshift gun range where he had brought in some tires and some phone books. He was actually using the bedroom to fire guns in.
For the average citizen, a situation like the one in the Cartmel home might be cause for alarm. But for a revered cop and gun enthusiast like Dion, it isn't so strange.
But nothing that I knew that was really creepy about him. A lot of the officers that worked with him said, hey, he was a normal guy, was real likable.
This is a household where guns are normal.
I think if you go around and talk to a lot of officers, you'll find that they buy and purchase a lot of weapons.
While officers continue to probe every corner of the house, Detectives Postiglione and Robinson examine Dion.
He had blood all on. There was blood on his face, blood on his hands. I saw blood on his pants, and he had a white T-shirt on what appeared to me to be blood spattered on his shirt.
He said that he offered CPR to her, so it's plausible that the blood could have been transferred that way.
So the blood transfer could have come with his interaction. Anytime you touch somebody who's got blood on them, obviously you may get some blood on you.
Yeah, I know it's hard, but we gotta do a GSR test. Just proceed.
Get it over with, man.
He's a cop. He knows the procedure. He knows they're going to ask him tough questions. He is cooperating with them. He gives them his clothes. He knows that they have to go through his cell phone. He gives that up. He lets them test his hands for gun residue. So it seems like he's cooperating as much as he can.
We had no reason to think anything else happened other than a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
As police continue processing the scene, Shari Cardwell's accidental shooting death is the lead story on the news that night. But as momentum for this case builds, information will soon come to light that suggests there's much more to this story than meets the eye.
You believe?
On March 16, 2010, 24-year-old Shari Cardwell succumbed to a gunshot wound in an apparent accidental shooting in her own home. The following day, Nashville police sit down with Shari's grieving husband and fellow Metro officer Dion Cardwell for an official statement.
I'm feeling sympathetic towards him and also the tragic loss of life, all of that. But at the same time, I'm eager to hear what he has to say.
Dion begins by describing the events he discussed with the police chaplain the previous evening.
We call it our Tuesday, so we just hang out together and do whatever at the house, or go, whatever.
It was just as he said the day before. They were watching a movie together, preparing dinner, and Dion was showing Shari how to take apart and clean his Glock.
I'm showing her, like, before going through this, how you take it, this is how this works, and we're watching movie Training Day.
She goes into the kitchen and check on the food.
I'm gonna go put the chicken in the oven.
Perfect. And that's when he reloaded the weapon. He sets it on the ottoman. She comes back in, sat on the sofa next to his left.
Alright, so what's next?
I'll reach for the AR. I'm gonna show you how this one works.
As Dion grabs his AR-15, he hears the Glock go off with a shattering bang.
I reach for that. When I grab it, I hear a bang. I can feel the force, like, on my face. I jumped, I freaked out. I looked over there, that's when I seen she was laid over it. And I was like, babe. It didn't feel real. It didn't feel real. I was like, baby, can you talk to me? So I was waiting on her to talk back, but she wasn't saying anything.
Now the way Dion describes it, it makes sense. It's a little different than the way he described it to the chaplain the night before.
First time he told them that he heard the shot from the bedroom. But then his story changes to they were both in the living room watching a movie.
While investigators take note of the discrepancy, they realize that people who've witnessed horrific tragedies often misremember key details.
We took the fact that his wife had just been shot into consideration. Yeah, we understood that.
As the interview proceeds, Dion informs them that this unintentional discharge of a weapon wasn't Shari's first.
He told them about a prior incident that took place with Shari. That once, when he was not in the home, she fired the gun and put a hole in the wall.
Apparently, she had the magazine out, was still in the chamber, messing around, trying to figure out if the slide went completely forward, then the round got fired. Almost like it on fire. It went through the mattress, out the head, through the wall.
The evidence for that discharge is easily verifiable. It's lodged in the wall of the Cardwell home. But detectives question the likelihood of a similar situation.
Then shot herself.
He said, well, she probably didn't realize that I had just loaded the gun back up. But either way, you don't point a gun to your face and pull the trigger. That seems like a very strange thing to do.
With the notion of accidental death being called into question, police are now entertaining the possibility that Shari took her own life on purpose.
There is the possibility this is a suicide. They need to look deeper into her personal life to see if she could have been depressed.
Police are asking him about his marriage. They want to know, did you have any problems in the marriage? Was there anything on?
We, We're doing good. I mean, it was all happy. It was kisses in the morning, hugs at night. It was perfect.
But when investigators speak to Shari's family, they learn that the picture Dion paints of a perfectly happy couple may not be entirely accurate.
What can you tell us about Shari?
She was very agitated and she was not happy. You could look in Shari's eyes. The brightness was gone. That flame was gone.
The last time I saw her, she wasn't the happy, bubbly, and I noticed she'd put on a little weight. And she hadn't had her hair done, and it was like, what's going on?
Shari's loved ones believe they may know why she was so down in the dumps.
I had heard that Dion had cheated on Shari, but Shari always denied it.
She said that he hadn't been intimate with her in a while. And so in my mind, it tells me that the relationship is not where it's supposed to be because they're still young.
I remember one night in particular, and this is at like 11 o'clock at night. I'm on the phone with Shari, and I'm like, oh, it's quiet over there. Where's Dion? And she's like, I don't know. He said he's going to the gym.
He's home. I'll call you.
I said, 11 o'clock at night?
Where were you tonight?
It's at the gym. I told you I was working out.
Oh,
I have to get in the shower. I'll be better in a minute.
okay.
Shari had discovered that her husband was sexting numerous women, up to 10 or 12 women.
She assumed he was cheating. She never came out and told me she knew for a fact he was, but she knew. She just didn't want to admit. You know, love is blind.
It is possible that Shari was so torn up by her husband's cheating ways that she decided to end it all right in front of him.
What are you doing? Put the gun down! What are you doing?
Know about those other women?
There's no other women!
Yes, there are!
Let's talk
Why
about
are you
this.
lying to me?
No, I love you! No.
Shari's friends and family, though, find that scenario unthinkable.
She has not committed no suicide. Shari would not have stuck no gun near her face.
While detectives still aren't certain what happened, Dion's alleged affairs do raise some eyebrows.
Dion is supposed to be a respectable man, and to find out from the family that he's been sexting other women, up to 12 women, it's sort of alarming to them.
But what's most alarming is what you'll find underneath.
Still to this day, it like makes my chest hurt to even think about it.
Less than 2 days after the shooting death of 24-year-old Shari Cartmel, Nashville investigators have turned up some unexpected dirt on Shari's husband and fellow Metro officer, Dion Cartmel.
Dion is supposedly cheating on her, so she
was thinking that she was out doing stuff that she wasn't supposed to be doing, maybe cheating on him.
It's all about control with him. He didn't necessarily want Sherry anymore, but he didn't want anyone else to have her, which was, the whole thing was kind of bizarre, but this is how he was living his life.
In my mind, Shari was displaying symptoms of somebody who was dealing with domestic violence. I just wanted my sister to be away from him.
I think it became intolerable for Sherry at some point, and she began to hate her life. And eventually, things began to crack.
But as authorities delved deeper, they also learned something else. It seems Dion's story about Shari's first accidental shooting in their house was pure fiction.
I said, Shari, who shot a hole in the wall? She said, I did. I said, come here, Mom, I'm going to show you something else.
What? He got angry. Oh, let me show you this one, too.
We go in the bedroom. It's a hole in the mattress. So I look, I said, that's where your head would be. Who did that? She looks at me and just smiles. I said, Shari, did he do that at your head? She wouldn't answer me. But in my heart, I knew he did it.
Investigators re-examine evidence collected at the scene, knowing they're dealing with a potentially violent person who likes to play fast and loose with the facts.
It was just different things inside the crime scene that didn't quite add up. In particular, the blood, I think, what was the biggest. We noticed to the left of the front door what appeared to be high velocity or high impact stains, which seemed inconsistent with the story we were getting that she was shot over by the couch. Blood seemed to go from the front door in a semicircular pattern around to the couch where Sherry was found.
How does blood get from the couch to the door?
Right. Let's get an expert in here on that.
We made the determination, let's take crime scene photographs, let's do all that and take it to somebody who does this as an expert. And that's what I did. I took all the evidence myself and personally delivered it to Jerry Finley, who's a nationally recognized expert in blood spatter, crime scene, reconstruction, that type of thing. Jerry Finley agreed with what the investigators had already suspected. Shari was not shot on the couch. The blood transfer to hit the shirt, which would not happen through his interaction with her. Just trying to do CPR or something like that.
When the bullet penetrates the body, it just like throwing a pebble into a body of water. It splashes out. And in order for him to get that, you have to be near the person that was shot.
It tells us that somehow, some way, he'd be facing the victim when the shot occurred because it's high impact. It would come straight back.
Detectives believe the physical evidence now points to Dion as the shooter, but it's a review of Shari's timeline the day of the incident that seems to cement that theory.
The timeline didn't make sense to me because she had just left from work.
He's given several stories about what they were doing in that short amount of time. Using video from the Skyline Medical Center, they're able to see exactly when she left, exactly when she pulled out of the parking lot.
The 911 call came in at approximately 4:46 p.m., but Shari didn't leave the hospital until 4:30 p.m.
It didn't make sense that she had time to get from Skyline parking lot, home, cook chicken, mess around with the gun, and then the 911 call come in.
We know how long it takes to get from the hospital to the house. And then a short time she was in the house, he's calling 911. So a lot of things he says occurred was physically impossible to have occurred.
In addition to the questionable timeline of Dion's version of events, there was another statement he made that Shari's friends simply knew couldn't be true.
The cooking is a joke in itself. That girl never cooked, ever. We ate out all the time. She never cooked.
So when he said Shari was cooking chicken, when we initially met with the police, we was like, I told him, are you serious? Check her fingernails. Shari ain't touch no raw meat because Shari don't care about raw meat. Shari can stand the texture of it, and she was not touch it.
Nashville police present their case to the district attorney, and on May 28, 2010, a grand jury hands down an indictment for first-degree murder against Dion Cardmell. Shortly thereafter, police move in to arrest the fellow officer.
I had his cell phone number, and I was communicating with him back and forth about, we're going to come arrest you. We'd like you to give yourself up. We don't want to create a potential barricaded subject or a situation like that. And when he came out the front door, he was actually laughing. And he came out, and my guys went up, they handcuffed him, and they took him into custody.
As lawyers on both sides prepare for trial, folks in East Nashville can't help but wonder if the law will be applied more leniently to this young man who was sworn to enforce it.
My biggest concern was that Dion was going to get away with this because Dion was a police officer.